One. This week on the latest episode of The Big Show, we're in the middle of Oscar season. And right now, we're going to have an Oscar story today. One of the things that is headlining, our good friend Clayton Davis wrote an article this week about one studio, two contenders. Oh man, I don't know what's happening. I'm not doing any of that. One studio, two contenders. Warner Brothers is having the dream award season, Charles, or are they? We'll talk about that as well as a bunch of television shows that have been released. And we've got two new movies, probably more, but we're going to definitely talk about Wuthering Heights. We're going to definitely talk about Crime 101. And Charles, there's one more movie you have that's not a festival movie that you reviewed this week. What would that be?
That would be Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die.
Bingo. We'll have all that and more in the latest episode, Keeping It Real with Film Gordon. Let's go. And welcome to the latest episode of Keeping It Real with Film Gordon. I am Tim Gordon. I am joined by Charles Kirkland. But before Charles says anything, Charles, did you see that freaky camera thing that just happened doing the
Yeah,
intro?
it was like,
I didn't do that. I was like, what is that? I was like, hey. new computer. I haven't broken it in yet. This is the first show with it. I just got the computer this week. I don't know what it's gonna do, but we're gonna do the best we can. Charles, welcome to the show, bro. What's going on?
as long as it doesn't flip you upside down, I think we'll be able to work with whatever happens.
All right, man. Well, like I said, man, it's award season, and we've talked a little bit about Sinners a lot, and we'll spend a lot of time today talking about Clayton Davis's article. Clayton is a friend. I should actually, if I didn't saw that article earlier, we should have got Clayton on to talk about it. But like I said, man, it's not like it's a secret. It's something that we've been talking about all season. So we'll go into that in a couple of minutes. And like I said, we've got a lot of films to talk about this week. Of course, the big two are Wuthering Heights. There it is again, Wuthering Heights and Crime 101. And the one you called, because it's got like three different sentences together, Charles, is
Good luck, have fun, don't die.
got it. And also, Cross dropped this week. So I want to talk a little bit about Cross if we can. And Charles, have you been watching Starfleet Academy, Star Trek Starfleet Academy?
No, I watched the first episode and I haven't watched anything since.
Well, this episode, the last 2 weeks, they've really amped it up. And I'll probably mention some of that stuff. So yeah, man. So that's what's going on. Pretty interesting time. We're like I said, it's mid-February. We got the Black Reel Awards coming up next week. Make sure you tune in Monday night, February 16th, 7:30 or 8 o'clock. I'm not really sure what the team is doing over there, but I've heard the advance that it's going to be an amazing show this year. Sinners, of course, nominated for 21 Black Reel Awards this year. It's the big film, and of course, there's Hedda and Highest to Lowest, and several other big contenders this year. I know One Battle After Another got some nominations from us. So it's going to be a big show next week, Charles. Looking forward to it, man. The 26th annual. And then after that, man, because normally whenever we do our show, the Oscars are usually like a couple of weeks after. So
Hmm.
we're getting close. We're getting close. All of the campaigning for award season, man. So Charles, before we get started, man, anything else happening that I need to know about, or that the audience, I say, needs to know about?
Well, you mentioned the award season, so I'm sure we're going to talk a little bit about the Directors Guild Awards that just happened over last weekend.
Well, you can talk about
And
them now.
oh, okay, all right, because I think it's a bad sign for Sinners what happened there because, but I'll let you lead into it if you want to.
No, I mean, come on, man. This is not like it's news of any kind, man. Of course, Sinners and One Battle After Another are going to compete all award season, right? And Charles is intimating about that the Directors Guild. Now, was that for best film or was that just best director?
Well, they don't do a best director because they're the Directors Guild. It's the best film, but the best film that they award usually wins. The director usually wins the best director award. So
Right. And
I
and
think there's
and
only as long as the DGAs have been in existence, there's only been 8 times in which the winner of that category did not win best director.
right.
And
And
so,
and we'll talk a little bit about that. I mean, I'm disappointed, but I understand what's going on, right? So what I said to somebody, and I don't know where I was talking to somebody, and I said, my belief is that between both these films, they're not going to send either of these films are not going home empty handed, right? So if Paul Thomas Anderson wins for Best Director, Sinners is going to win Best Picture. So it's going to end up balancing it out. I think it's highly unlikely, Charles. I'll just say that because I could be wrong, but it's highly unlikely to me that one of those films is going to win both of those prizes. You understand what I'm saying? Like that's not going to happen. Like they're going to split and do the love. And if you're Warner Brothers, it probably for them is probably the best scenario, right? Best case scenario. Now, also remember going into this that this is the fourth Oscar nomination for Best Director for Paul Thomas Anderson and the first one for Ryan Coogler. Now, why is that important, right? That's important because there's this belief, and again, not my rules, Charles, but just stuff I've noticed and observed over the years, right? We talk a lot about 1993, right? That was the year Denzel Washington was up for Best Actor for Malcolm X. And Al Pacino was up inexplicably for his seventh nomination, and he had been 0 for 6 going into that night. And they gave him the Oscar that night because people, the prevailing feeling was is we don't know when Al will be back, but we know Denzel was young and he'll be back. And I think that probably that scenario to me, Charles, feels like the one that's closest to represent where we are this year with PTA, and Coogler, right? Coogler is a rising star, right? This is his fifth film. I don't know why he didn't get nominated for Best Director for Black Panther, the movie that made 1.3 million. Don't know why. I know that film, as well as Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and now Sinners, have been heavily nominated films. His last three movies. So Charles, I believe, and I could be wrong, but there's a sense that he's a filmmaker on the ascent. Right? He's his art. He's young. He's like 39 years old. Ryan Coogler. I hate to say it because it doesn't really help him this year, but he'll have more bites at the apple for during award season in the ensuing years, God willing, right? Paul Thomas Anderson, why he didn't win in the previous three. I always get that, Charles, this is always my blowback, right? So when people say, well, such and such has been nominated multiple times and he never won. Well, why didn't he win in any of these years? Did he run into a situation early in his career where there was an established director who hadn't won, and the sense was is, oh, Paul Thomas Anderson will be back. So he might have felt victim to the same exact thing, Charles. But that's my sense. But you go, man. So I don't just dominate the conversation.
well, there's also the other aspect that the other, I don't know if you want to call it elephant in the room. The reason why I think that Ryan Coogler's only been nominated for one DGA award or one Oscar for whatever is
Or for
because
best director.
he he really is not he really hasn't until now been part of the fraternity of the directors, and we're talking about again the Directors Guild. And so I don't think I've ever known the Directors Guild to nominate someone who wasn't in the guild before. And it's the same way with the Writers Guild. If you're not part of the Writers Guild, you can't get nominated for best screenplay or adapted or original. So if you're not in those guilds, it's harder for you to get the nominations that you want that and the recognition that you deserve. Well, thankfully, Ryan just got his DGA coin at the last award ceremony, so he now is a member of the Directors Guild. It may be a little too late for this voting season, but as far as the next come arounds for him, the next projects that he puts out, he'll be in full consideration. And so that might be another factor where they say, okay, he's got time, he's coming in, he's rising, we'll get something else from him later on down the road. So yeah.
So look, so let me just read this to you because this is very interesting. Clayton Davis, colleague of ours at Variety, wrote this. He said, and I quote, one battle after another, Charles jumped out early and never really slowed down, racking up critics' prizes at a pace that suggested inevitability. The film won 35 major critics and guild awards, including a sweep of the National Board of Review, the LA Film Critics Association, New York Film Critics. I would add in there, since it's not in the article, the Washington, D.C. area film critics, as well as the National Society of Film Critics. It's a rare feat achieved only by Schindler's List in 93, LA Confidential in 97, and The Social Network in 2010. Right. And then he says, and then came Oscar nomination morning. Overnight, Coogler's Sinners transformed the entire season when the film scored a record setting 16 Oscar nominations, the most in Academy Awards history. Once looked like an inevitable coronation for PTA, became an honest to goodness coin flip for possible historic victory for what could be the first Black director to ever win the category. The once deemed juggernaut now suddenly had a true rival from its cinematic cousin from across the lot. And that left Warner Brothers strategists and publicists, managing expectations and egos. You can't pick a horse, one award strategist familiar with the campaign tells Variety. The entire studio has to walk an incredibly fine line. Bingo. It is a rare situation. So I can't remember the last time that happened where one studio had the two best films of the year. I mean, I can't remember it ever happening before. And I could be wrong because I probably, me, I like to research, but I can't remember it offhand of it ever happening. You?
No, this is the first time again. I don't think it's ever happened before, at least not in modern times. I mean, who knows? Maybe back in the golden age of cinema, it might have come up where one studio had multiple nominees. But I don't think it's ever been one A like this has been, where you have two films that, I mean, it's a coin, like you said, it's a coin flip. It could be either one, and it's just incredible. And and in light of all the Warner Brothers sales stuff that's going on, I think this is one of those things that people were like, hey, well, they did pretty good. They did pretty good this year, having two films that are, could be that are both champions. I wouldn't, if Paul Thomas Anderson wins for one battle after another, Sinners wouldn't be upset. If Sinners won one battle after another, wouldn't be upset, because I think everyone believes that these are the two best movies that are out there.
Well, it's funny. I told you the story. I was at the Critics' Choice Association's celebration of Black cinema, and I sat and watched where they had literally center stage. They had the centers table here, and the one battle after another table here, and Warner Brothers is led by two co CEOs right now, and one CEO sat here at the centers table, and one sat at one battle after another. It was the craziest thing to watch. But I'll say this, man. You talk about uh, Oscar voting. Oscar voting has always fascinated me because without them ever telling you, Charles, there's always a pattern, right? Of how things work in the guild. And every year we always tell the story that it's always one movie or a movie or two where there's some controversy. And I think this year, I forget the movie I read about a couple of weeks ago where there was some pushback or some blowback. And I said, I just shook my head and went, yeah, it happens every year. This year we've got less of that than we've had in years past, because you remember last year the big push was Amelia Perez and what was going on with Sophia Carla, was it Carla Sophia Gascon, and all these remarks. And I was like, yeah, it sunk that campaign. Power the Dog a couple of years ago, or several years ago now, with Jane Campion's speech, pretty much sunk its chances to win an Oscar. This year, I think what's interesting to me is that in looking at and analyzing this race, because we've been doing this, you and I and other critics, man, have been doing this since like October, thinking about, one battle after another versus Sinners. And I think the point I wanted to make, Charles, is that as I go online and you go through award season, and there are all these hosted screenings, right? So I've seen people like Ben Stiller and Christopher Nolan. I'm trying to think of some other notables who've come out and hosted and moderated talks. Denzel Washington came out and moderated one with Delroy Lindo. So there's a lot of people in the industry, black and white. Ben Stiller, I think, was another surprise one night, showed up and had a conversation with Ryan Coogler. So there is a lot of supporters and within within the Oscar branches that love Sinners, right? There's a lot of people that love this movie, right? And Steven Spielberg, I know, has been really championing Paul Thomas Anderson. He showed up with him a couple of weeks ago, a couple of days ago, and he's seen the film and it's his favorite film. He loves it. And I'm sure there's some other folks, like there are a lot of film critics that I know that are really pushing this movie. But Charles, outside of Steven Spielberg, and I could be wrong, I haven't seen as much vocal support from other directors other than Spielberg or actors for one battle after another, like I have for Sinners this cycle. Like I've seen a lot of people coming out to support Sinners, wanting to be there for Sinners, which leads me back to I could see a scenario, Charles, of PTA winning Best Director, because the rationale is like Coogler will be back. But I do think that Sinners is a singular achievement as a film, no matter how much hate. Like I've been reading some stuff. Somebody wrote, Charles, man, Sinners is just a mashup, man. It's like three movies and none of the themes are working. And I went, you just hating, because Sinners is great. I'm sorry. But go ahead, Charles, because it looks like you're looking something up.
Oh, well, I wanted to try to pull up because after the DGA Awards, which Christopher Nolan is I think he's the chairman now of the DGAs, or the president, or whatever you want to call it, the director. He did come out and with a statement supporting One Battle After Another, and so he did moderate something at the DGAs in support of that film. So uh, I know how much you love Christopher Nolan and how much he's like up there on your pantheon of directors right now, which is
Mm-hmm.
another thing we really ought to talk about at some time, because there aren't it's now director's world. It's not as the actor's world as it used to be. It's like the directors are really commanding the respect and the attention of film goers. Where it used to be, we'd have A-list celebrities like George Clooney and Julia Roberts, and anytime you saw their names, it's a movie that's going to make money. But now it's more like these directors are the ones who are really commanding the dollars, and so we have Christopher Nolan, who again is one of your favorite guys, coming out in support of Paul Thomas Anderson. I don't know if it's just because it won at the DGAs or whether he's, really throwing his hat in the ring for that picture, but he did give it a word of support. So
Got you. So, Charles, okay, I did the research. It's two times in the modern era that we've seen this situation play out, and one of them was less than 10 years ago. It was 2017, when then Fox Searchlight, which is now Searchlight Pictures, but Fox Searchlight had both Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, and The Shape of Water in the race at the same time, with The Shape of Water prevailing, right, from Guillermo del Toro. And the time before that it happened, you got to go back to 1974 when Paramount had both The Godfather Part 2 and Roman Polanski's Chinatown both in the race at the same time, one studio. And in that case, of course, Godfather 2 prevailed. They talked about it happening in other times in history. UA in 1961 had both West Side Story and Judgment at Nuremberg, with, of course, West Side Story winning. And then this one is kind of funny to me. 1948, Johnny Belinda and the Treasures of Sierra Madre. I've watched Johnny Belinda a couple of times. I would not have nominated Johnny Belinda for Best Picture, but that's just me. I thought it was good. I didn't think it was Best Picture good. So yeah, Charles. I think
That's funny because you mentioned The Shape of Water. That year was also the year that Paul Thomas Anderson was nominated for directing The Phantom Thread, and he got beaten out by Guillermo
Guillermo
del
del
Toro.
Toro. See, that's what I said, man. So this instance, I think part of what I've learned about Oscar is that there's always going to be somebody owed, because there's always somebody who's obviously good enough to win in the year that they are, but there's always somebody else that they owe a debt to, and they got to take care of the debt of that person, which puts them now, that person, the next time he's up, hey man, we still owe you for the last time you didn't get it. And that's what happened to Denzel Washington. So Denzel Washington won an Oscar in 1989, or he won it in 90 for Glory from 1989, right? So he was up again in 93 for Malcolm X, which had been released the previous year, lost. And then well, actually, that's not true, because he didn't win the next time. He was up again the next time for The Hurricane, and he lost to
Hmm.
Russell Crowe,
Yeah,
right? And then the following year, he was up again for Training Day. Russell Crowe had done, what was the Ron Howard film where he was the mathematician? Um,
A Beautiful Mind.
Beautiful Mind. And going in, it was thought that he was going to go back to back, right?
Right.
And then came the infamous BAFTA Awards. Remember that, Charles? And BAFTA
Hmm.
Awards, there was some sort of a I don't know what the words you want to use. It was I would just say some drama that happened where there was some sort of a verbal altercation, and that sunk Russell Crowe. He was done. Denzel
Right.
Washington was like coming down the aisle like this, and because that was a special night with him. Halle Berry won Best Actor, Best Actress, the only time it's ever happened, as well as Sidney Poitier was a special honoree that night. And there was such blowback with that. It took years. I think it was what, 4 or 5 years before Jamie Foxx won. But yeah, man, there was a lot of hate that night. I remember seeing that on the cover of the now not defunct Washington Post, but the now streamlined Washington Post with pictures of Halle and Denzel side to side, and then Sydney below the fold. I was like, it was a special night, man. That was a good one
It
back in
was. It
2000.
was.
So
It
yeah,
was.
man. I don't know, Charles. I mean, the to me, the rest of the race sort of is going to flesh out that I think Timothy Chalamet is probably your leader in the house for Best Actor over both Leonardo DiCaprio, of course, for One Battle, and for Michael B. Jordan, who should have been nominated twice, because I don't know which character did he get nominated for. Was he nominated for Smoke or Stack? I don't know. Like, what are we talking about? I also think that Jessica Buckley is probably going to tap dance into Best Actress this year for Hamnet.
Did you call her Jessica?
What's
Jessica.
the one?
Wow.
Jesse.
Jesse. It's just
Watch this.
Jesse.
Jay Buckley. She's Jay Buckley. Jess Buckley is going to, for my money. That's what I'm picking. And then for Best Actor, I'm sorry, Best Supporting Actor and Actress, I was going into the season. I was thinking it was Tiana Taylor, and it very well may be. And then on the other side, who are we thinking about, man, for supporting actors? Is it going to be Benicio, or is it going to be Sean Penn?
I believe it should be Sean Penn, but a lot of people who really love Benicio's work in that film, even though he's not in that film for very much time, I think that I don't know. I'd prefer Sean over Benicio though.
Well, here's what I
But
would say.
but
I would,
but the outside chance is that Stellan Skarsgård pulls it in for for sentimental value. And this is
value.
another one of those you've been doing great work things, and we're going to reward you.
Well, I would say there are two people who are highly unlikely. I think Amy Madigan might pull off the upset in this category for weapons, right? Which of course would thrill, which Warner Brothers would be happy with, right? Because either her and Tiana Taylor is still Warner Brothers, right? But the shocker, which I would love to see, and I don't think it can happen, is if Delroy Lindo could pull out Best Supporting Actor as a lifetime achievement. Because man, this dude, Delroy Lindo, the first came to attention for me when I saw him as West Indian Archie in Malcolm X 34
Uh,
years ago now. He was great as West Guy. He should have got nominated that year. He was that good in that
yeah,
film.
92. That's, yeah,
It's
34
92.
years. Wow. Yeah.
34 years ago, man. And, he's been great, man. I saw him a couple of years later in Clockers. He was really good. Um, Delroy Lindo has just been solid throughout his entire career. And you could say his nomination now, we get to now say Oscar nominee Delroy Lindo. Cool. It would be cool if he could just hold up the statue and be like, yeah, y'all didn't think it was possible, didn't y'all? So I don't know, man. So I think that to your point, I think it's probably either Penn or Benicio del Toro with an outside shot at Stellan Skarsgård. I agree. I think Amy Madigan or Tiana Taylor are probably your leaders in the clubhouse on that side. And it's cool that Wumi is going to be nominated, and we get to say Oscar nominee Wumi Musaku now. So I mean, Charles, this can't be easy, and I guess this is the part that we can't leave out. It's not easy if you're Warner Brothers, man, trying to mount these campaigns, man, because you can't do one for more. You can't do this much for one movie if you don't do it for the other one. So whatever you're doing for Sinners, you got to do for one battle, and vice versa. So add money in the trades. I guess it's a $30 million campaign. 15 million of that is Sinners. 15 million as one battle after another. You flying Leo out, you're flying Michael B. Jordan out, you're flying Coogler out, you're flying Paul Thomas Anderson out. You're doing all of this stuff in concert in order to get people's attention. And voting is still going on because voting hasn't closed yet, right, Charles?
Not yet. No.
Yeah. So I don't know, bro. That's a good one, man. So.
Every time you say that, every time you say it's going to be one or the other, and that Warner Brothers really hasn't, they haven't valued one over the other, I just worry that somebody's going to sneak in because Warner Brothers not allowed the vote to get split, and somebody's going to sneak in and take it away from them both. I
Well,
don't know what film that would be, Marty Supreme or Hamnet, but eh, strange things are known to occur
let me
on the night of Oscar.
let me tell you something, man. And I said this earlier, and I'm going to repeat it again. If another film sneaks in that's not one of these two films and wins Best Picture, I'm going to be like, it'll be like a Shakespeare in Love situation. Because, like, when's the last time, and before I just said it, when's the last time you've been sitting around with a group of film critics and somebody was like, I saw Shakespeare in Love again last night, and that was a really good movie. Who? When has it ever happened? Who's seen Shakespeare in Love at all? In the last Shakespeare in Love it came out in 97. Charles, I promise you, and I'm not saying this to be funny. I don't think I've watched Shakespeare in Love again since the season it came out. Like not going through videos. Like I've been on the streaming platform and Shakespeare in Love doesn't happen. It's one of these movies that I like. It was a good film, right? But it was not better than Saving Private Ryan. It just wasn't that year. It wasn't.
It doesn't. I mean, as you're scrolling through your TV guides or whatever to see what's playing, I never even see Shakespeare in Love on the screen anywhere to say, "Oh, hey, look, let me check." No, it just doesn't happen. It's not on a streaming service. It doesn't pop up anywhere and say, but
And
yeah,
that's no.
it
Watch
won.
this.
And
Watch
and
this. If there are people at home who worked on Shakespeare in Love and you watching this, we're not hating on the movie. I'm just saying that in comparison to Saving Private Ryan, Now ask me if I ever watched Saving Private Ryan since 1997.
Oh yeah. Oh
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
But guess what? Guess what? Hamnet is about Shakespeare.
I'm gonna tell you now. If we had to come on here, I'm just preparing you in advance, and for people who watch this podcast, if I have to come on here and you ask me and tell me that Hamnet won Best Picture, I'm like, bro, there's just no justice. There's no justice because clearly, watch this, Charles. Even if you're an Oscar voter and you can, I don't. I've seen strange things happen, right? And you're right that there is a fear of a split vote, right? But the issue is, and I'll say this about Marty Supreme. Marty Supreme, Timothy Chalamet, money in that movie. He is great. The movie itself, Charles, do you think there's enough voters out there that are going to watch that movie and think it's so nuanced and that outside of him, just say, what's this? Sentimental value. Let's talk about that one. Sentimental value, really good movie. Understand the father is going through 3 decades, this special house they live in. I think Stellan Skarsgård is good, and I think the two, is it Elle Fanning, and I can't pronounce the other actor.
Ileana, whatever her name is, Abadas. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think both of those are good, but as a movie, good movie. Again, good movie, which it's earned its place to be nominated for Best Picture, but winning Best Picture, mm, mm-mm, mm-mm. And then last but not least, the last one we talked about Hamlet. You talked about it being a Shakespeare story. I think if either One Battle or Sinners don't win, the three films we just talked about are really the three films, or the only three films that have an outside shot to come down the middle with these split votes here and try to take one home. So like I said, I think you're right. I think there's been so much buzz around One Battle and there's been so much buzz around Sinners that to me it almost makes, because what I think is going to happen, Charles, if you have 10,000 people in an academy and let's say 7,000 of them vote and 3,000 don't, you might have that vote split along the lines of 3,500 for one, 3,500 for the other, and then you just smatter the rest of the votes around. That's pretty much what I'm thinking. So one of those movies, in a perfect world, could it tie?
It could.
We have a
It could.
tie.
I mean, wouldn't be the first time we've had them.
Warner
So
Brothers would be happy with that one too. Warner Brothers would be ecstatic. They'd be tapped dancing like, "Woo! We got two best." So
would
yeah,
you be happy with a tie? Would you be happy with a tie?
for Best Picture,
Yeah.
in this case, if one of the movies was the one I championed for a tie, sure. In that example, yes. But if it was a tie with Hamnet in One Battle, I'd be like, hey. So yeah, man. So it's gonna be an interesting night. I think we've talked about that one as much as we can, Charles. I'm gonna leave that alone. Any closing thoughts, man, before we move on to talking about some of these streaming platform shows that are dropping this week?
No, all I can say is we're less than a month away from the actual ceremony. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. I'm on pins and needles because it could be a historic night on many a front, and we'll see what happens.
Well, it could be an historic night for Ruthie Carter. It could be a historic night for Autumn. I can't pronounce her name. The cinematographer from Sinners. Autumn. I can't pronounce it. I think it's Arc. I don't want to mess it up. Right. So it could be a historic night for her. It could be a historic night for Hannah Beachler. It could be a historic night for Ryan Coogler. Right. So there's a lot of history on the line on Oscar night, and Charles and I'll be in the same place we are every year, so that's always funny. Like, yeah, man, we'll be there.
We'll be partying it up. Yeah, let's do it.
Is that what we're doing? We're partying.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, we're watching the Oscars at the the draft house out in Virginia, where I and Travis Hobson host an Oscar ceremony every year. So we'll be doing that. All right,
It's
Charles.
the Arlington Cinema and Draft House where we will be
Sir, if
for.
people are outside the country, they don't. I mean, we're getting folks across around the world. So thank you for giving them a plug. That was good.
Hey,
Or
I'm on the publicity committee for the Washington D.C. Film Society, so yeah, I'm gonna rep our stuff.
All right, man. All right, so coming up in a couple of minutes, we're going to be talking about Wuthering Heights and Crime 101 and a couple of other movies. But before we get there, Charles Cross dropped again this week, man. Alex Cross. And as we told you last week when we were talking about Cross, I'm hoping if they go to a season 3 that we find some other spots to hang out in DC other than Ben's Chili Bowl. It's good to see you at the bowl. And that came up in conversation a couple of times when people that saw it. It's like, back at Ben's, man, that's it. We got
Hey, look,
same thing.
oh, J. Cole was in town this weekend.
He was at
This week?
Ben's.
Did you hear about it?
He was
Huh?
at Ben's.
No, he went to Ooze and Oz, which is a couple of doors down from Ben's. And so I was like, yeah, let's get Ooze and Oz on the map. Let's do some
Okay,
other
cool,
things.
cool. Who's the Nas? All right, cool, cool, cool. All right, so but Cross is back. I've had a chance to see. I didn't see the third episode, but I saw the first two. Pretty good, Charles. I love how every year he's chasing after trying to solve a case of some really twisted person. And my favorite scenes, and when I watch Cross, Charles, is I think I tell you about this, is when he stares at a whiteboard and starts muttering to himself, and everybody just kind of sits back going, he's doing that
Right.
cross thing, doing that cross
He's
thing.
like, oh, he's in the zone. He's talking. Oh no, they
He's
said
over
he's
here.
talking to the spirits
He was
again.
over here doing this, but no, but why would he do that when he was doing? I love when he does that, right? So I'm like, you're doing that cross thing again. Got some good elements. I think they're setting it up well. We have a real should I call them a sadist couple that are just walking around just chopping off fingers and shooting people. just and we got to solve this case.
Yeah, but they got a purpose. It's not like they're just randomly doing this. They got a method behind their madness.
So, Charles, if a guy was out there hurting a woman's feelings or sexually assaulting her, you'd come back and go, but he had a purpose, though. He just wasn't doing it. Of course, they got a purpose. Every psycho, Jeffrey Dahmer had a purpose. Like everybody has
Hunger? He was hungry? Is that what it was?
a purpose. But yeah, man, but they're setting Cross up well, man. So I like it. Cross is going to run through mid-March, man, because they put the first 3 episodes up this week, and then starting next week they'll go to episode 4 through, I guess, the rest of the season, the next 6 weeks. In addition, this week, the ABA, I think it was called Soul Power,
Soul Power.
the legacy
Yeah.
of the American Basketball Association dropped. I don't know if you got a chance to see that, Charles. That was really, really good, man. So I watched that as well. Produced by Common, George Carl, and Dr. J. Julius Irving.
Dr. J.
So pretty good stuff there.
I mean, anytime you think about the ABA, that's the first name that comes to your mind is Dr. J. At least to me. I don't know about anybody else. When it comes to my mind, that's where we got Dr. J from. Yes, sir.
You had Dr. J. So they kind of laid out the stories of Connie Hawkins, Dr. J, and there was one more person that came to the league because Julius, I mean not Julius Irving, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or Lou Alcindor was literally about to sign, and for reasons that nobody understands, the then commissioner of the league had a check for $1 million and just didn't give it to him. And he was like, oh, okay, cool. If you're not going to give me the check, I'll just go play in the NBA. So that story is kind of detailed along with some other wonderful tales of a league that I remember watching as a kid, right? The ABA. So it's good stuff.
Dang, you old.
Thanks, man. I can tell. You see all this gray on my head here? So, yeah, so that's on Amazon Prime. You can check that out. The other thing that I wanted to touch on a little bit was episode 6 of Star Trek Starfleet Academy, which Charles is not watching. The episode was called "Come Away, Come Away with Me." I think it was called. Dang, I just had it right there.
Like
Um,
the Nora Jones song, "Come Away with
no, it
Me."
was called "Come Let's Away." Come Let's Away. So
Oh,
if you haven't been watching it, which Charles Kirkland has not, episode 4 explored an episode about a starship or transport that was transporting the last 8 Klingon houses that went down and crashed, and that there is a cadet at the Starfleet Academy who's the only Klingon there, and it looked for a minute like his whole race would be extinct except for him. And then they find out and they're able to rescue the Klingons, but now they no longer have a planet of their own, Charles. So there's a vacant planet, but if you know anything about Star Trek, the Klingons are like that James Brown song, I don't want nobody to give me nothing. Open up the door and I get it myself. So they set this episode up, Charles, that instead of being able to give the Klingons the planet, they had to set up a fake war where we're gonna fight against you. Don't shoot them, no. Poo poo poo. And the Klingons grabbed the planet and was like, we claim this planet as our own. And it was like, whew, you got it, Klingons. Which I thought was funny because I was like, okay, that worked out. The fifth episode, because I'm getting to the sixth one, Charles, I'm building it up. The fifth episode dealt with the legacy. One of the characters is Sam, which stands for, dang, Tim, you got to have this information in front of you, man. Give me 1 second, Charles. I'll pull this information up for you. The episode was called, it was about Sam, but it was what Sam represents. The name of Sam really means series acclimated mill, right? So the type of being that she is. And it sent her, Charles, on this hunt about the legacy of Captain Ben Sisko. And so it was a whole episode honoring Cisco, which put me on a path now that I'm watching Deep Space Nine to learn about the man who became the emissary, who went to be with the prophets, right? Just left, right? After that show ended, right? And it was a beautiful, beautiful tribute, which also for you, Charles, since you aren't watching the show, that we also find out that the instructor who was helping Sam on her journey to discover Cisco's legacy gave her a book which let her talk to Jake, the son of Ben Sisko, where they brought the actor back who played Jake Sisko back for this episode. And it ends, Charles, which you'll love, with we find out that the instructor is a symbiote whose name is Dax. So Ben's Dax helped. Oh my God, it was amazing because like when I watched it initially, I didn't get it because I had never watched Deep Space Nine. But now watching Deep Space Nine and understanding that was brilliant writing. So she doesn't know, she doesn't reveal that she's Dax until the very end. And Sam goes, "You're Ben's Dax." And she goes, "He would have liked you." written by Tawny Newsome, and playing Tawny Newsome played that character. And she was like, "I expect to see you in my class next semester." And I was like, brilliant, right? Week 6, the episode from this week, Charles, is, as you watch the first episode, so Paul Giamatti is the master adversary for Chancellor or Captain Aki, which is played by Holly Hunter. And of course, in this episode, which I'm not going to say anything because people are like, "Man, I'm still trying to watch it." Let's just say that, as they say on the streets, ish got real this week on Star Trek. On Starfleet Academy, man. They go out on a training exercise and they encounter an adversary, Charles, that I think they just made this one up. This one has never existed in the canon before. Because I was like, who are they? What is that? It's not a Romulus.
Okay.
It's not a Vulcan. It's not a Cardassian. It's not a Klingon. This is a new. It's not a Breen. It's like none of those things. that are in the canon. Charles, when you watch it, it's a new adversary, and it's a scary adversary because I was like, "Whoa, what is that?"
Okay, I one of my biggest joys is to correct Tim Gordon on his pronunciation of things.
Did
Because
I
you
say
you
it
you have
wrong?
to say Star Trek instead of
Star Trek.
Trek.
I said Star Trek.
But you said Kardashian. Those that's the
It's not. It's
people.
not.
That's the
It's not the. It's not the. It's not the Kim
oh
and the.
Kardashians, not the Kardashians. You got these big butt women in space. Come on, man.
It's not. Every time I watch, when I'm watching Deep Space Nine, they talk about how do you pronounce it? Is it the Cardassian? I always
Kardashians,
like,
yes.
is this Kim? It is Kim. The Cardassians. That's funny. So the Cardassians are these people with the necks, and then you got the base.
Right.
So it's the folks of Bejor. So I love the fact because like I ask questions to a lot of my Trek folks. I'm like, I love how from episode to episode they have all these different folks. So you'll see a Vulcan pop in every now and then. It's a lot of Klingons, a lot of Cardassians.
Kardashian, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Cardassians. There's a lot of them, and a lot of the folks from what do they call the Bajorians? The Bajans, the Bajors, the
I think
Bajorians.
they
I
call
think they're
them,
the
yeah.
Bajorians. Yeah. So yeah. So Star Trek for you, Charles. I really want you to watch episode 6 because I want you to explain to me what you know about this new adversary. Because I asked somebody, I said, "Are these guys? Are they new?" They said, "Yeah, those are totally new. They just made those up." I was like, "Wow, it's pretty good."
Hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So, yeah,
Well, I need to buckle down and get back into Starfleet Academy because what'll happen is it'll get too far down the road and I'll feel like I can't catch up. I'll just leave it alone.
hey man, you can
So
just
yeah,
always wait until the end of the season and just binge watch the whole thing. That's what most people do. All
yeah,
right, man.
yeah.
So enough of that, man. Let's jump on these movies this week, man, because we got several of them, man. I just want to keep it to the big two because if you want to read all the reviews, as you guys know, you can just go over to thefilmgordon.com. Charles, would it be a stretch for me to say one of the hottest sites on the web right now?
I think you are correct, sir. I think you would be right.
It was so funny today. I had to fill out a document for a studio, and they were asking about our web traffic, and I was like, "Oh, I'm glad you asked."
Oh,
Glad
would
you
you
asked.
like to know?
Look. I can give you the exact figures now. How about that? So yes, so you can go over to thefilmgordon.com and read all the reviews that are up this week. But I want to focus on two, and we're going to start with Wuthering Heights, right? And of course, Wuthering Heights is the 8th film adaptation. Now, you notice I said film, Charles, because they've made several television movies and some streaming shows, but at least on the big screen, starting with Laurence Olivier, and that first Wuthering Heights to now. So they've made between that first one now is like 6 in between that. And this one, of course, tells the age-old story from I think her name is Emily Bronte,
Hmm.
based in 1847, about Catherine and Heathcliff, and
Heathcliff.
and how the two of them meet as children, develop a bond between them where but unfortunately according to the social norms they can't really come out and go, I'm kicking it with you, girl, because it was a class thing, right? She's trying to be, her father's trying to marry her off. He's a servant, he's like of a lower class. It's not even a good look to have you as a mate. But she secretly pines for him, he secretly pines for her. She gets married first. Then he figures out that he can't marry her, so they just start sleeping with each other all over the place. And I'm just describing this version. Then once she decides, she breaks it off. She's living with the ward, her husband's ward, and Heathcliff marries the ward. And the reason why I'm telling you all of this because it's not like this is new information. If you read the book, all the stuff I'm telling you is in the story. The only difference in this one, Charles, is that this is the third film from writer director Emerald Fennell. Fennell. And you
Fennel.
know,
Yeah.
I said Fennel, right? This
Yeah.
follows up a promising young woman, and it also follows up Saltburn. And she brings her unique style, which is sort of in your face, nice visual, but she really, really amps up the sexuality and the carnality of this story, right, Charles? I mean, there's a scene in the second act, or several scenes, where it felt like it wasn't a montage, but it just felt like it was just the steady stream of the two of them hooking up all across the English courtside, like all of this sexual activity. They hot for each other. It's the horn dog Olympics, man. They are just at it, right? And I thought that both Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi had great chemistry. They looked good together. It was clear that they had done a lot of pre work on this film and it shows on the big screen. I thought her direction was pretty good. I think it's the kind of movie, Charles, that nobody's going to be, it's just okay. It's either really, really good for people or they absolutely hate it. Nobody's in the middle on this movie. And I think part of what my challenge with it is, and I wrote this in my review, is that had I had an opportunity to have seen the 7 previous versions, I would have had something to judge what she's doing with this version. But by virtue that I went in flying blind, I just don't know. No, when I say flying blind, I mean, I know the story, Charles, but I'm saying as it relates to how other people have filmed, like how has it been filmed in the past? How the elements worked in the past? I'm really
Are you telling me that you've never seen a
I've seen
film?
I've seen the I think it's the 1939 version with Laurence Olivier, but I haven't seen all 8 of them. No.
Oh, okay,
Oh,
okay,
see,
okay.
so my point is
No.
that when I say that, I'm saying that from a standpoint that the way I process films is like I'm always comparing one film to the other film. I'm like, oh, a performance to the other performance, or this direction brought this versus what this director brought. I went in blind, and there was no way. I don't think there's too many people that or if we know any, who've seen all 8 of these movies. I don't know if anybody has. So I found it really hard to judge what I was watching because I had nothing to judge it against. But go ahead, Charles.
I
We
was
got
just going to
about
say,
I think we got about oh yeah, we are up on time, man. Go ahead. Damn.
oh, I was just going to say that was what really, as much as I love Emerald Fennell and what she does and how she does it, I just was not down for another version of this story that, I know quite well. I haven't seen all 8, but I've seen a few, maybe 3 or 4.
Okay, I got you.
And yeah,
And I'm sorry, man. My apologies. How much time do we have left, Charles? Like about 2 or 3 minutes?
yeah, about 3 minutes.
All right. Do something quickly about a movie that both of us liked, but I think I liked it more to you, which of course is Crime 101.
Okay, so wow, you want me to do something about Crime 101? Crime 101 is a crime thriller film that's written and directed by Bart Layton. It's based on a novella by Don Winslow. It stars Chris Hemsworth, Mark Ruffalo, Barry Keoghan, and Halle Berry, among some other people. It's a story about a jewel thief named Mike Davis who is nicknamed the 101 Bandit by a detective named Lou, uh, um, played by Mark Ruffalo's character, who is just convinced that this is one person making all these hits and nobody believes him, and he just has to go out and catch him. I'll say, as we go through this, I loved every moment of this film except for some of the plot holes that kept me from giving it an A grade. It's a beautiful movie, a well shot. It's a love letter not just to the heist move style genre of movies, but it's a love letter to Los Angeles and the way it depicts some of the gritty stuff and some of the beautiful stuff and just puts it all together. It's a really well done movie, and at times I really felt I was like watching the sequel to Heat, in that the way Michael Mann created that atmospheric tone in that film. This just plays like it's a I guess I would say a cousin, but maybe a fraternal twin of that film, and I really loved it a lot. I love the work that Chris Hemsworth does, and we've seen him in a lot of action films, and you would think that this would, because he's here, it'd be an action film, but this is really a more esoteric performance where he's nuanced and he's confident as a robber, but he's socially awkward in every other aspect, and you don't really see that from Chris Hemsworth. So I'm really glad that he is expanding his range in this film. But I thought it was great, and
All right.
it's one of those films that's worth seeing.
We
To
are
which I'll say,
we're up against time, and let me tell you something, Charles. For what he just said, I echo it. I love this movie. Plot holes aside, it felt like the type of movie. If Michael Mann, if you'd have told me going in that Michael Mann directed it at the end, I'd have been like, sure. It was such a it was such a well done movie. And matter of fact, I'm going back to see it again this weekend. I really, really my favorite movie of 2026, and I'm sure it's early because it's February, but what Charles just said is cool. But we are up against time and we got to get up out of here. And as we tell you both, we tell the audience every week, please see something good at the movies. For more information to really go in depth and read these reviews, go check them out at thefilmgordon.com. We'll see you guys on the other side. You guys take care, and we will see you next week. Peace.